Today I'm going to make a video that is titled Spheres of Influence. Why do we have an SJW society, a society of misfits, a society of gender war individuals such as the feminists? Why do we have so many people who are liberals? For example, you have in Augusta, Georgia, a lot of people here in Augusta, Georgia, I think the majority of them, are liberals here in Augusta, Georgia. I listen to what they actually talk about. The things that they talk about is a bunch of nonsense, like type of stuff. Augusta, Georgia people are obsessed with racism. They're obsessed with, you know, stereotypical things, and they're obsessed with ideological like type of things here in Augusta, Georgia. The majority of people here in Augusta, Georgia, have voted for Hillary Clinton. That says a lot about them, and I want to bring that up often because the reason why I want to bring this up has something to deal with the people's mindsets and what do they place, you know, what do they value the most? Where do they place uh importance of value, or what do they think is most important to them? And so far there's a lot of fake people out here in Augusta, Georgia, even if they do portray themselves as real people, but they're not real people. They are fake people out here in Augusta, Georgia, and it seems to be the majority of them. You know, black people, white people, it's a lot of them that's fake, and the things they talk about is very unrealistic, especially the younger generation of the adults out here in Augusta, Georgia. Um, and honestly, this place is no different than Atlanta, Georgia. It's no different than Atlanta, and and then there's barely no distinguishment between Augusta, Georgia, and Atlanta, Georgia. They even support homosexuality, LGBTQ undercover. And this also makes a lot of sense why Augusta, Georgia fell off. Because now you have a bunch of liberals running Augusta, Georgia. And that makes a lot of sense ever since they voted for Obama. And then they voted for Hillary Clinton, which actually sends a clear signal and a sign about what Augusta, Georgia is all about. And it's about a whole bunch of crap. And there's no more basis of standardized reality that people project. But now they just actually focus upon fairy tales and delusions out here in Augusta, Georgia. Now there is some people out here in Augusta, Georgia who's different than these delusional individuals. And I know who they are. And I came across very few of those individuals who are not delusional. But other than that, they are technically delusional and they don't know what they're talking about. Now, you have number one, the news media. The news media is responsible for brainwashing the masses of people. They're responsible for disinformation, spreading lies, portraying illusions of events that happened that never did happen, that every now and again that they script and they portray the illusion that something has happened, but it was just all a setup. And then the news media, reporters, and journalists has been caught many times staging fabricated events that never did took place in reality. The people that they interview are fake people. Those are actors. and actresses. Some of them are even gang stalkers because I can actually spot them when they're on TV, especially when they use hand gestures and say a bunch of subliminal, undercover program like type of stuff in relations to myself and possibly in relations to other target individuals. The news media has been working with the FBI, CIA, NSA, White House, and also taking orders from the Freemasons and the Satanists, and they get bribe money. Yes, they bribe the people to do the type of evil that they actually do. There's a lot of narcissistic people who are reporters, and they're just brainwashing the masses. A lot of liberals, too, a lot of homosexuals who are news reporters, and they are responsible for influencing today's society, which is why today's society is all kind of messed up. Another sphere of influence is Hollywood. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about that because that's obvious. And you can tell that it has an effect upon society based upon how the way they act, how the way they talk, how the way they do things. And now it just leaves today's society as a bunch of brain dead black men, black women, white men, white women in the United States of America and other nationalities and races of people. And they did an effective job in brainwashing people, and now their brain has been turned into soup. Another sphere of influence is porn, the porn industry. The porn industry has so much disgusting stuff up on there. Even today's society has copied off of the porn industry, and the majority of the sexual acts that people do is very pornographic, and a lot of things that they do sexually reflects what people do on the up in the porn industry and on the porn set, which actually makes a lot of sense why they do a lot of unrealistic sexual acts, which makes no sense why today's society do something like that when technically sex is nothing like what's up in the porn industry, which actually just complicates existence even more. Another sphere of influence is the music industry. I'm also not going to go into detail about that. Similar to, it's obvious about, because it has something in common with how obvious it is in relations to Hollywood movies. They play music, they have the people dance to their beat, to the programs, the things that they program them with while playing the music, because it has a gravitational effect on the individuals and influencing them and bypassing the brains, bypassing the individual, their defense, neurological defense system, and pumping their brains with all kind of propagandas and ideologicalizing the society. And now they created an ideological spinning image and molded society into how the way they wanted them to be. And then they made sure that programs stay stuck in the person's head via music. And that's another reason why that society is like the way it is, because it's just like what the Satanists said, the New Ager, that they use music as an instrument of war to wage, an instrument to wage a war against people. It's a famous person who's a singer or a musician, and he actually made that statement. But he's a Satanist. Another sphere of influence is advertisers, commercial advertisers, and commercial advertisers all over the internet and on TV keep on advertising propaganda and a whole bunch of other stuff that people really don't need. The majority of the stuff that they advertise, people really don't need. It's just a way for them to make money and sucker people into buying products that technically is very useless. Some of them is very useful, some of them is very useless. And there's natural ways that people can shortcut their way doing things more effectively than just buying products and things that they just dupe people with because they think that the people are stupid enough not to catch on to the very subliminal things that they want to project. Another sphere of influence is the schools. They influence people. They influence people through schools, and then they teach them doctrines of devils. A whole bunch of propaganda, a whole bunch of New Ageism, a whole bunch of satanic type of stuff creeping all up in the schools and stuff. And then they just douse the individual, blow after blow, a bunch of nonsense mixed with some things that they need to learn about. That's a major sphere of influence, as well as anything that can bypass and get to the youth much more quicker. Another sphere of influence, which is another major sphere of influence that replaced TV nowadays, is the internet. And now I see why that the Amish individual said that the internet is the devil. And now I understand what they mean by that. Because technically everything that's up on TV and that is done in real life is all pumped up in this digital visual matrix and a simulated reality system that is conjoined, or shall I say fused, with so many other different programs and advertised propaganda and so many other stuff, all fused together, hybridized and mixed into one of the worstest putrefying things that they have created and on the internet that is called the internet and is all up there, and then people can just go up on the internet. They even have the deep web. And then and you don't want to go to the deep web, because when you go to the deep web, those people will track you down. They will track you down, and there's a whole lot of illegal websites and a whole bunch of illegal things that has been done on those dark webs. Even some of those dark webs contain a whole bunch of misleading, misguiding websites, and a lot of those websites are counterfeits. And there also are there's a whole bunch of gang stalkers who also happen to be up on those dark websites, and some of them have been created by them as well, which is why when people visit the deep web, or I rather call it the dark web, the deep web, this is the reason why that people get stalked by anonymous other parties. And these are the main major spheres of influences.